споры, тонкий английский лед, под ним кипящее море. Рюмка на полпальца, где-то усталая печень, но он опять рвется в зал, как будто последняя встреча. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящих каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал. Где-то в Багдаде жара тонет в сарказме и прозе. Он пишет, как режет ножом, а мифом на белой бумаге. В студиях, в старых барах, в маленьких залах кампусов он ставит под роспись богов и веру сдает под авансом. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящих каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал. Тело слабеет, голос сипит, но шутка выходит точнее. Он поднимает стакан и говорит: поверим, кого соберет скорее. Публика держит дыхание, он не дает ей надежд, только упрямая да к сомнению и пути. Исследуй смерть, честное но разума обжигает, но будет спящий каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал.
This land was made for you and me. That includes our poor and hungry. If you want to join the fight, come stand with us on the right side of history. Divided we stand, united we fall. In the belly of the beast, fighting fascists, the tyrants.
Good evening, everybody. You've found us. You've actually found us. If you're new to this channel, wow, you're in store for something, and it's right over there.
What?
There, that guy. He just got out of prison. Good to see him after 45 years. But no, this is Divided We Stand, and you can find us on YouTube. We ask that you subscribe to our channel, and it has its premium benefits in the certain sense that you don't have to worry about advertisements coming on, because we are not a monetized channel. I'm sure YouTube wants to get the hell rid of us. Although we've had some good numbers of late, which is kind of interesting, very interesting, considering that a lot of our progressive friends all over the country who have YouTube channels are losing viewers. That's a story in itself. Not tonight, though. And you can find us on Facebook. That's where the bulk of our material is and the bulk of our commiseration. You can find us there. Just do a search for Divided We Stand group. It is a private group, which means we do filter those who want to become members, because we certainly could have a lot more numbers if we allowed Trumpers to come in, but it would have been all over the place and defeated the purpose of what we were trying to do. So, yeah, is that a tautology or something? I don't know. Anyway, without any further ado, my co-host and good friend, former educator, former reporter, but he's here right now, and he's not former. He is here, and it is now. And that is David Price from Arlington. Dave, how the hell are you? And what the hell's up down there?
If I knew, I would tell you, Brian. What I do think, or one of the things I do think, is yesterday encapsulated what the hell is wrong with Donald Trump in the White House. From the minute to the major, it was it wasn't maybe quite as important as a day that will live in infamy. Obviously, it was an attack on Pearl Harbor. But I think, as we talked tonight, and we'd spoken briefly about, kind of as we do, where do we want to go with this show? And I think, I'd said, and you agreed, that just looking at yesterday as a microcosm of the deep shit right. America is in. It really was. So what did you take away from yesterday? We're now actually a little bit more than 24 hours into the incident, the latest shooting incident. So, what was your take on yesterday, Brian?
I was actually paying more attention to what was going to happen with the deal or no deal with Iran. Then all of a sudden the shooting thing comes up. I told Ronnie I heard some reports about gunfire from the White House somewhere. Mm-hmm. And this is getting to be old hat. Normally if this had been 1964, 65 and something like this happened, it would be really big news and everybody would be at the edge of their seats or the edge of their steering wheel. But quite frankly, Dave, I'm getting used to this kind of thing. I find it very peculiar, although I'm not surprised that it was a real event. It's just that these are happening more frequently. It's as though they're almost allowing it to happen up to a stand. I'm speculating, but they knew about this guy, and all of a sudden this thing happens. He wants the ballroom. The deal, we still don't know what the hell the deal is, but it's something interesting to look at and to speculate. I think you mentioned earlier today, Dave, to me that this is like the fourth attempt in a few months. So yeah. It's getting really, really bizarre. I don't want to make light of any assassination attempt on anybody. I don't even want that to happen with Trump. I don't care about him, but I certainly don't believe in assassination. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it points to a number of things. Let's start with violence in America. I'm going to make a statement. I believe it to be true, and I don't believe it to be disputable. America is a violent country. End of story, end of tale. Now, we could speculate all the reasons, and there are a myriad of reasons. But what we haven't had is this idea of, it's not daily, but I think you said it best, maybe Brian, when you're kind of saying, it doesn't surprise us anymore. It doesn't shock us. Well, let me ask you a question. If in the middle of this show, your wife Ronnie would come in and say, my God, the president's just been shot, would it surprise you?
Right now, no. Wouldn't be
No, and I think
surprising at all.
And I think that's the danger. You get inured to things. Look, no one should ever try to assassinate a president of the United States. Now, I agree with the presidential historians who have labeled Donald Trump the worst president in American history and the second worst president in American history.
Right.
Like, I mean, how do you do that? Now, think what that says, though. Just think about that for a moment. We have a man. Yeah, I guess he's a man. I kind of consider him subhuman. But we have a man in the White House who is not only the worst president, but he succeeded the worst president himself twice. What does that say, Brian, about America? Well, it says a couple things. We come back with there are 34 to 38% of the people in America who I would feel very certain in saying may think they're Americans, may think they're good people, may think that they're Christian, may think that they have the right answers, and they are wrong, 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 wrong. If you support Donald Trump, I feel perfectly safe in saying so. It displays a deficiency in character. You cannot be
Right.
a whole person, a whole American, and support.
There's no
Donald
gray area to this one here, basically what you're
No.
saying.
No,
There's some
no.
things that have gray areas, but this one is one where you cannot, he can't defy the law of physics. You cannot deny that somebody supports him. You have to be looking the other way.
There's something wrong, right? Now, of course, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? They come back, and you could do a litany of wrongs. You could do the hatred thing. You can do whatever. But the thing is, a right-thinking, clear-headed American cannot support Donald Trump. But yet we find 34 to 38%, depending, on what poll you're looking at, do. Now, I don't pay attention to polls the way I used to. When I was a reporter, which, after we fought off the dinosaurs, we walked into the office. No, back in the 70s and 80s, it was another world. Journalism was another world. But I felt fairly accurate, or felt I was being fairly accurate, if I reported a Harris poll or a Roper poll or a Gallup poll or a Pew poll. They were the four biggies. Now everybody and their proverbial mother has a polling industry. I mean, they're all over the place. And Brian, do you? We get a lot of calls, right? I mean, I get them. You get them. Do you ever do any responses to the polling, or do you just usually say, consider it?
I haven't had I had a poll call maybe around 7 or 8 years ago, and that was it. I do answer them if they ask. I do question them because I don't know who they are. You know what I mean? But I haven't had a poller call me in, I want to say, 8 years.
Okay.
I think it was
so
8 years.
obviously there's got to be a reason for that. I mean, we don't know what it is, but people that think like you, if they're not getting called, I mean, it's not like a conspiracy, but it would depend. I also think what has happened.
Well, if you're a Democrat, there's no real reason to call unless you're going to ask about the micro issues. But if you're a Republican,
Right.
you might want to call because, what is going to be the reaction to what Trump's doing with the ball?
Right.
And all that.
Well, and I think too, more than ever, and probably on a daily basis, where you're calling makes a difference, right? What do I mean by that? We are so gerrymandered in voting districts. We are so, what word am I looking for? Well, we live in little isolated bubbles geographically, right? Try to find a liberal somewhere outside of a city in Alabama. Okay, you're probably almost out of luck. Now, that's not putting Alabama down, because there's a lot of liberals in Alabama. My grandchildren,
They're just
being two of
outnumbered.
them,
It's
and
like
and
Texas.
also they're located, in a centralized area. But let's get back to D.C. yesterday. So what happens?
Right.
I'm going to take us a couple days earlier to bring us in, right? Because nothing Oh, here's worth the price of admission, as they say. Nothing happens in a vacuum, and that's true. Every day is preceded by something and followed by something, and every event, especially at the level of the White House. So here's what we had going into yesterday. It's going to be a strange day anyway. So first of all, Donald Trump Jr., who may believe he's the heir apparent to his father, got married yesterday, right? Is that correct, Chad? Didn't he? I think. Did he get married yesterday? Yeah, I think he did. Well, of course, that they didn't just call people and say, come to the wedding. It was announced. And did you see Donald Trump's response to that when he was asked, are you going to your son's wedding? Did you have a chance to see that at all or hear
I
it?
think I did, but I don't remember. I mean, he said something to the effect that he tried to blow it up as though he was more concerned about the country because of the situation.
Correct. That was basically, and it was basically, I had this thing, it was kind of like, I'm paraphrasing here and just, I have this thing called Iran. So I like to go. That wasn't the most damaging thing he said to me. That wasn't the most damaging. Here's how he described his visit to his son's wedding. And I used the word visit deliberately. He had no involvement with it, right? We know that. Now, granted, it's his son's second wedding. And yes, Trump had how many? I understand maybe weddings aren't that big in his thing. But this really struck me as so odd, his phrasing and the way he says things. And a normal person would not say this. I believe the quote, and I might get this a little wrong, I may be paraphrasing a little bit, was kind of like, yeah, I'd like to go. He's a person I've known for a long time. Whoa. He's a person I've known for a long time is how you describe your
your own
relationship
son.
with your own son right there. I know this may sound minuscule to some people. I'm certainly not putting it up with the 142,000 billion ways that we should.
Didn't he say something
shouldn't
kind
be
of
president.
relative to his wife in the same kind of sense? It was very a distant.
Statement. He doesn't have a command of the English language that demonstrates that he is normal. He does not. Now,
He speaks
I'm
in
sure-
fragments, doesn't
Well,
he?
there's that, but it's just,
Doesn't use
let's go
adverb or
back.
very rarely. I'm not a.
Well, or he uses adverbs too much sometimes. But let's just go back that for a moment. I really think that's, minute, that's a word I'm using a lot today, but minute sort of way, I think it really encapsulates the problem with Donald Trump. He is not normal.
Right.
He said about his son and his visiting, again, remember I said visiting, his son's wedding, he is a person which I've known for a long time. I don't even think he said who. Somebody
Right.
check me out there, but I think he said which I've known instead of who I've known.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
sure he
that'll-
did.
I mean, I don't know that. I should have written it down. I didn't. And so that was just in passing, but I'm thinking, what a weird dude. Okay. And of course, we have other information on it. Well, then what happened in D.C., and I'm assuming it happened in other places too, the word got out partly because he said Iran, the word, he talked about Iran as a reason he couldn't go. I've got this thing, Iran. Well, checking into it, it became kind of a rumor mill, semi-approved, that we were going to have something to do with Iran yesterday. And indeed, we did. He gave away everything.
Right. We don't. I mean, it doesn't seem like.
Tell me one thing. Tell me one thing, anyone, that we gained. Iran now has probably replenished some of their nuclear stockpile. We have 13 that we know.
And they
dead
haven't
American.
stopped them from future creation of these
not
type
at
of
all.
fuels. So that didn't. And even it says they have to wait 30 to 60 days to negotiate what they're going to do with the fuel that's there right now, whether that can be sent to Russia. But the point is, nothing's done, and they're going to get what they want. They're going to open up that thing, and they can close it when they want to. And then Trump's just taking his tail and leaving. Because he
Right.
knows about prices.
But in his mind, Brian, in his mind, it was a tremendous victory.
Well, I
love
think
that.
he knows it wasn't, but he's going to
You know what,
frame
Brian,
it.
I'm not any more with Trump. I'm not sure about anything.
All right. Well, it
I'm
won't
just- I'm not
matter because
saying
we
I-
know that was not a victory. At least
Here's what we know.
you may be against the war, but if he, and I essentially, I don't like Iran. No, I don't think anybody here is a proponent of Iran. But there was no way this thing was going to work out and what he was going to do. It was ridiculous, especially
No.
with the Strait of Hormuz. You got to go all in, balls to the wall if you want to beat him. You can beat him, but you got to go all out. And we weren't ready to do that, and he didn't. And he did it from the air. And look what we have now. We are going to lose.
Well, first of all, I'm not military. I've never been in the military. I've read history and a little bit about it, but I would never pretend to be a militarist. But from what I have learned over the years is, unless you're going to completely destroy a country, you can't gain control by the air.
Right.
You have to put, the proverbial phrase is boots on the
And
ground.
that's, by the way, folks out there. I mean, I'm sure you probably know this, but just in case, you watch any type of program that you have generals on, and they always will say that we bombed the hell out of North Vietnam and all, and with Cambodia, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work.
And I'm going to say something else that I don't think, I know Trump doesn't consider. Every bomb that drops makes 10 terrorists for every victim.
And you have to replace those bombs too, by the way. And many of those were, tactical weapons that cost a lot of money to produce, and they can't just, create them like pancakes.
No. So you have, I think you have a human cost. Now, what was it? 128 kids were killed in that one bombing.
Again, I don't, right there. As far as the numbers there, I don't want to go by what the Iranians say. I don't know the number, but chances are some kids died. Okay.
All right. Here's what's really frightening to me. I would believe Iranian numbers before I would believe American
Right,
numbers.
and I tend to agree with you. I don't believe Iran at all, but I certainly doubly don't. Trust Trump.
That's the problem, right?
Nor do you trust Iran. Now you can't tell me you trust Iran.
Iran, philosophically,
They have no reason to lie on that right at this point. They, to get the upper hand, they will lie when they want to. It's a religious government, and they will lie.
Well, and so are we.
So are
that's
we.
the problem. Now,
all the time.
But let's just assume that it was true or it wasn't true, but people believe it's true. Well, the good guys aren't supposed to bomb and kill 100 kids. They're just not. Now, does it happen? Absolutely. 144, Kim. Okay, I know it was a number in the hundreds. So thank you. But think about that. 4 is too many. In all honesty, they weren't the enemy. Their leaders might have been the enemy. But again, I think that will be something. If I was an Iranian, I would be livid. Livid.
Well, this is what happens
And
when you
how
have
do you
a
get
war.
back?
When you have a war, this happens in Ukraine every fucking day. It happened in Russia, by the way.
I got it.
2 days ago.
I got it. What I'm saying is what happened in this whole Iran fuck up, the word FUBAR,
Right.
came out of the military. Well, this whole FUBAR thing, it put us behind. If he had just left what Obama had put in place.
He can't do it because he just doesn't
I know
want
he-
to accept it, that Obama got a good deal.
Right. And that brings us to the charges that he is a racist. I believe, how does this? Do I believe that Donald Trump is a racist? Well, first of all, it's irrelevant what I believe. I believe, first and foremost, he doesn't have any use for anybody who has less money than he does. They can't benefit him, or less or power. And so I don't know if he's a racist, but he certainly has no concern whatsoever for seemingly women, seemingly immigrants, seemingly anyone that you would put in a minority category, right? So he sits there, and because it was the president before him because it. I think he's more livid that Obama was black and did things than he would have been maybe necessarily. He wouldn't have been happy with anybody because remember, only go back to the very beginning and only I can solve it. He came into the presidency with those words. Only I can solve it. Only I can end it. Only I. Right. So let's get back to the week. Touching back. So you got that going on. So now suddenly there's this big thing with Iran. And indeed, it was true. Okay? It was true. He was planning something. Now, it got to another thing, though. The next kind of rumor mill was they were not just going to discuss Iran, they were going to discuss Cuba. Now, I will venture, at this point, it appears that we will be going to take some kind of action in Cuba. I believe that to be true. Why? Trump, I'm not so sure he doesn't believe he won't be president of Venezuela, or he won't be president of Cuba, or at one point, Brian, as terrifying as this sounds, there were reports out of the White House that he was going to capture Cuba and give it to Marco Rubio to run. Now that story is so outlandish, right? Under normal terms, you wouldn't even begin to entertain that. I do entertain it. Why? It's Donald Trump. Donald Trump can do nothing right. Donald Trump can only do wrong. And that's just the nature of Donald Trump. You see from time to time, you see lists printed of all his previous business failures. Brian, I'm going to ask you tonight to speak for the American people. That's a big responsibility.
Yes, indeed.
But you can do it. Can you name one success in Donald Trump's almost 80
Yes, I
years?
can. Just
Go ahead.
one. I believe when he was in military school, he won a bowling trophy. He went to the bowling alley, and he actually had the high score of all the cadets. So he did get a trophy.
Well, let's
for
put
bowling.
it like that. If he were to tell you that, and I'm not saying you're right or wrong, would you believe it? If he were to tell you that,
It's funny because no, you wouldn't. But it's just one of these things. That's one thing he doesn't have to lie about. He could just say he won. I did see a picture with him with the trophy. It's the only reason I remember.
well, we know that he's taken trophies that he hasn't earned from
Right.
people.
You know,
what I'm saying?
Look, I know he didn't graduate first at Wharton School of Business. There's no.
That's what.
I would believe he
When-
came in last.
And think about that, okay? So really what we're saying on a minute thing, who really cares whether he won a bowling trophy or not?
Right.
But however, if he says it, here's where I am with him. If he says it, I don't necessarily believe it. I don't.
But do you believe that the shooting was real? That's what I want to know.
Well, we're getting to that. We're working our way up. So there's something far worse about the shootings than just the shootings themselves that are going on for America, for you, for me, for every American, and for the world, indeed, because America is a central player in the world. We still are. We're losing ground every day. You didn't sit on your dog, did you?
No, I wouldn't
Just
do
that.
that. I just almost stepped on him earlier today, but that no.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're kind. Anyway, so we've got all this stuff going on in the White House. Now, remember, this is also the week when Stephen Colbert ended his show. Big whoop, except for the way it was ended. There's no question that CBS News, once world recognized as a journalist, Walter Cronkite, remember, the most believable man in America. More people believed him probably than any other living person, at the time, and he was CBS News. And then you had, it continued on, and CBS News, and then they had 60 Minutes. And CBS really was always the news organization that you judged yourself against if you were network, right? ABC and NBC never quite got there. They got good
Especially
guys.
ABC. ABC was always down.
Well, ABC actually, we can.
They
blame
did
them
have
for
that
them.
good interview. Howard K. Smith had the interview with Gore Vidal and the argument. Trying to think.
William Buckley.
Buckley, yeah.
Bill Buckley, yeah. And but yes, so CBS though, I mean, it's like I don't know. They were the New York Yankees, of I guess you could say they were New York Yankees, the Green Bay Packers, or the Boston Celtics.
And Dan Rather, when you start out there, he was great.
Yeah, and Dan. Well, then again, a little aside. Not everybody knows this, and it is kind of important. Do you know what incident made Dan Rather?
Well, I remember the convention when he got hit in the gut. I mean, that kind of
It was actually before that, Brian. What actually happened was he was working for Dallas News station when JFK was shot, and
Oh, really?
CBS was so impressed with his coverage that he was on the fast
really?
track. Now,
Did not know that.
No,
Very
I know
interesting.
most people don't. Yeah, it is. I mean, now what that says is these events that happen have ramifications.
He was great in the '60s because I do, as a kid, I remember him.
Oh no,
he
Dan
was
Rather.
very good later, but he was great in the
Something
'60s.
Something happened to Dan in the middle. When he had that episode of
Frequency. What's the frequency?
Yeah, what's the frequency from the? But again, and this is another thing that is Trump's time. Dan Rather today is back as good as he ever was in terms of on track.
Right.
But he doesn't have the impact because he doesn't have a news organization behind him. But he is really, I'm glad for Dan. I have had, because I remember, not that I'm, name dropping or anything, but at working for the museum for the years I did, you got to meet a lot of people. And Dan was just somebody I was very fortunate to be there.
And was he,
And,
nice with you? And
I mean, he was, he what he was? He was a Texan. I mean, that's what he was. I mean, he's kind of friendly, and I mean, he didn't have a big head. I also got to meet Tom Brokaw, and I'm saying, that sounds like,
how about Sam Donaldson? Did you ever meet him?
Never met him. No, he didn't.
Because he was ABC, but he was good with ABC.
He didn't stop by. But again, my point is that we had these names that were legendary and did the news very, very well. Now we don't have them. Barry Weiss, who took over as the news director, think about it. She's killed.
60 Minutes.
60 Minutes is gone, basically. Colbert. But anyway, that was in this week. Now, I think it was an interesting approach. Again, this shows that he is not fit to be president. Colbert, I don't know if you watched it. Of course, many people did. It was the highest rated show of his tenure, which isn't surprising, right? And I mean, he had some super guests on at the end. It was just, everybody knew this was a moment that if you were on the anti-Trump, you wanted to be there. If you just wanted to see it, you wanted to be there. And maybe even some Trumpers watched it to just make sure he didn't announce he was coming back. Mm-hmm. But very classy, went out great. I've never, I think he proved, the idea of grace under pressure. Now, we all know that he's going to make out fine. Okay, he's going to make out fine. He's, he'll whatever he does, he's going to be successful at and propelled. Now, will they ever be able to get CBS numbers again? Maybe.
Do you think he'll show up on SNL really soon?
I think there'll be things that he will do. Because remember, he is primarily a satirist who became known as a newsman, that he was really satirizing on the Colbert Report, and then moved into late night, and he really grew into that position. Because his first shows, as anybody's would be, were pretty rocky, right? But anyway, you've got this significant figure, and did you see what Trump did? Did you see what he did the next day? Well, he took this verbal victory lap. No talent, bum.
I didn't see that at all. No.
Okay, no. What you needed to see was the video that he reposted. It was him, completely AI, Donald Trump picking up Steve Colbert, who has a surprised look on his face, and throwing him in the trash can. In a large, not a can, but like a green industrial tank. Now, if anybody out there can come up with a justification why a president of the United States should do something like that, I'd love to entertain that.
Well, that's like Mussolini, and it's the closest comparison I can make with somebody.
Well, again, I would not challenge
Or
you.
he's just the asshole boss that every one of us had in our lives somewhere along the line.
but on steroids. Remember,
Yeah.
you've never had a boss, and I've never had a boss who had its thumb.
I had some
on the-
assholes, though.
Not saying
This
that
before we even
They-
met. I had some assholes.
but they did not have their they did not have the nuclear codes. That's why this is worse than anything else. The man has the nuclear codes, unless the military is giving him the wrong codes. Please, military, consider that.
I'm sure he has control over the military. I think you would hope, but if you were to give Michael Flynn $1 million and his brother's still there, and they've
No.
gotten rid of somebody, I don't see how
I
it's
know.
in place.
I know that, but
He's
again,
the commander in
well,
chief.
let me challenge that for a moment. Okay, there was an incident about it was in the 80s, so I guess a long time ago. Anyway, it's been verified. So Russia, our enemy then, maybe our enemy now, did have nuclear capacity, second to us, probably. I mean, next thing. And they had nuclear subs off the coast in international waters, right? I mean, that was a known fact. And no problem, because you don't control international waters. And there was an incident that was later documented, and it's true. There was a glitch in communications between Russia and this one nuclear armed sub. And the commander of the sub was under orders, if such a thing happened, he was to release bombs because it meant that America had attacked Russia. Now, we would have the same kind of thing. And there wasn't a whole lot of fail-safes. But what happened was and the equivalent, an ensign, I don't know what the rank is, you might in Russia, I mean, I don't know, but the equivalent, not like an officer, but not near the top of the command. He simply, he had to be part of it because it was a, two-person thing, and he just refused. He just refused. He went with his gut. Or we might not be having this conversation tonight.
Right.
So the point is, yes, I agree 100% with you. I think Trump has tried his best, and Hegseth had tried even harder when he was sober to destroy the military. And by destroy, I mean make it his army, a branch of his people running it. I don't think there's any question about that. You can look at the speech Hegseth gave the other day, and it was abominable and abysmal. As you,
I don't
Anyway,
aside from the words, Davey, when you look at Hegseth, just the image he tries to portray with the stern look, and it's obnoxious.
The man wears makeup 24 hours a day.
He's got to work on his
Now,
persona, his real avatar.
I'm not going to get into a debate. What any person does is their choice, okay, in this. But I do have a problem with somebody who pretends to be powerful and makes themselves up,
Right.
and then puts the people who, are legitimately that, gay, trans, whatever, as weak, and you're strong, and that's Hegseth. And so he put a beauty parlor, in essence, a male beauty parlor, was the first order he gave in the Pentagon because he needed to look good. Well, looking good ain't helping you, Pete. Anyway, so we've got Colbert, but we've got another thing circulating into Saturday that all's going to enter into it. Bruce Springsteen, love him, hate him, whatever, is on the America is fucked up, Trump is fucked up, we have to do something tour. Okay. That's his message every night. It hits him now. I know we can get into arguments about how he's a billionaire and why are you paying all this money. That's not what we're talking about. I'm just talking about the message he delivers. The other part, yes, we can debate that all night. And I don't know if did you see that the FBI, who we think does, they're actually, he is now, they're saying they believe that the assassination threats are so high now with him that it's the highest security that has ever been for any.
And I would imagine that there's so many people that hate him, and they're exhausted. And I'm not endorsing assassination. I am not. I would never do that. I don't think that's the way to solve the problem.
It isn't the way to solve the problem. But what I'm saying is, I'm bringing that back. So you've got you've got one Trump critic fired, right? And look, like I said, Colbert being fired, I mean, I don't know him. I've never met him, but I mean, it wouldn't be the same as, a factory working being fired and had no job to go to. Colbert will do fine. Okay. But still, the idea that he was fired by, for reasons espoused by Donald Trump. So that's in some people's head. Then you take Bruce Springsteen, and he's, under threat of death for speaking ill of Trump. So assassination, firing, all this. And that leads us to yesterday. Now, you asked the question. I'm going to return it around to you, and then I will say, do you think yesterday's assassination attempt was a real attempt? Or do you think it is a false flag, they call it, that type of thing? In other words, there's only a couple possibilities, right? One is the guy legitimately was crazy and did something absurd. Secondly, he hated Trump or really thought he was making a statement. Third, he was put up to it somehow. And fourthly, we know he's dead, unless fake bullets were used. I mean, which I don't think happened. So what do you think, Brian?
Well, they did. I did see a picture of the guy. There were reports that this person has been watched for over a year and that he has made threats against the president, doesn't like the president. So there is a side of it that says, okay, this could happen. And like you said, though, I think the third thing you said, like maybe they set this up. We haven't seen the dead. I don't want to see the dead body of the person, but again, he's such a liar, Dave, that I can't trust anything. I don't know what the truth is anymore. I can only go by what I
stop
think
right there.
I understand.
Brian, you've just spoken for any sane American. And let me tell you what you said in case you were wondering why is he accusing me of being sane. I don't know. That's where we are in America right now. I don't know. You can't believe what you see. AI is getting
like
better
Oswald
every day.
It's like you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
You
know.
have a commission now. Arlen Specter. You don't have any Arlen Specters anymore.
No, it's just I don't know. And of course now I choose to believe it was staged. I also choose to believe in Bigfoot. You know what, Jeff? You're saying that satirically, and it's kind of cool, but you're really onto something. I mean, this is where we are, Brian. We can't deal with facts anymore. We have to believe in beliefs. And look how that worked out with religion.
It doesn't work, and that's my whole point. We were discussing this before.
I know that.
You can't base it on what your brain thinks should be. That's just not going to work in life.
But that's all we have right now. So here's what
So we
happens.
have to just live a life of being free from the government in our heads. I don't know. That's all you have left.
No, I don't. Well, that's what I'm saying. So if you can't, the way I kind of try to explain it, I'm not really good at this, but okay. I'm having to look right now at a wall across from my computer because office is in our bedroom. And I believe that that's a wall. I also know that by fact, it's been established to be a wall. Okay. Anybody that says it's anything else, I believe is wrong. But we're now, if a Trumper comes in, for example, he said, no, that's not a wall. That's a refrigerator. What? We can't even agree on anything to start the discussion.
Well, don't you think that the fact that fascists want you to be in that position where you can't tell the truth, they have achieved their goal? We don't know.
Look. There are.
I know he does lie every time, though. That's for sure.
Well, I've got to get back over, and I've been negligent. One of the places I used to frequent a lot, but they don't have their talks anymore, probably fearing assassination, is the Heritage Foundation. But I guarantee you, tomorrow, Tuesday, when they get back from Memorial, there'll be a bunch of smiling people there because they're winning. For anyone who doesn't know, Heritage Foundation is the most right-wing, noted think tank in America, and his deed is, if Trump has a think tank, it's his. I mean, it's not, he doesn't control it. They can kind of control him, and they do that. I was going there for what? well, up until I've been going there for about.
Don't you think they
13
probably had a hand in, Trump making this deal? I mean, Trump, he's very stubborn.
It's a plan. It's a plan. 2025. That plan.
I'm
That
talking
they
about with
put out.
Iran. When
No, I'm
push
saying
comes
everything's
to
in-
shove and say,
ev-
look, Don, you got to do this.
Well, I mean, Iran. If I'm in the Iran government, outside of maybe some sadness for the deaths, and probably not because they're really
They kill their own people very easily too.
yeah. So I really don't. I'm elated. That is a victory. Iran got a victory. If you, like I said, I would not consider it a victory because people died, but in their case, it is.
Absolutely.
Now, and I think people, especially liberals, sometimes don't understand necessarily how much hatred there is toward the white devil. And let me explain that. I just, last week was graduation for my granddaughter. And so that's the most time we spent in Alabama since Christmas. Spent 5 days. And Brian, that TV, wow, because it's election time, right? That TV was so full of hate and shit and lies. And if you watch that, you tend to be brainwashed in a sense or believe it. Same thing in Iran. We're the white devil. And it doesn't help that we killed X number of people
Right.
that we were there. We also, I think one of the problems with Trump, well, there's so goddamn many, but one is that he views the big strong man. Well, sometimes a hell of a lot more people, Brian, root for David than they do Goliath. Would you agree with that in the story? Yeah. So, and who are we now? In that comparison, we're Goliath, okay? We're the big bad West, we're this, we're that, the other thing. So we can't, I really can't determine the shooting. Now, I do believe, and remember, I've used the word believe, or it's my opinion that I think this one was real. I think it was purely poorly executed, no pun intended. I've spent a hell of a lot of time the past 15 years outside the White House. Mm-hmm. I've only been in what, 4 times, I guess, three or 4, but a hell of a lot of time outside. And there's no chance, or you can't say no, but I see no way that a gunman can take out the president of the United States when he or she is outside the White House, outside the fencing, and the president is inside. I just don't see it. It just can't happen. And so any attempt from the outside is it's doomed to failure from the beginning. So did this person angry and just wanted to, stir the pot? Did he really think he could get there? Look, it's not myth. It's true. They're a machine gun stationed 24/7 on top of the White House, ready to go. I've seen them come out. So it's not like something, there's just too much force there. So, but what I worry about are 2 things about the assassination more than the attempt. Well, 3. One is I agree with you 100%. Assassination solves nothing. Okay. If anything, it sometimes makes a martyr
Right.
of the person who was assassinated. So that's not a way to go.
Another reason not
Secondly,
to even enter your mind to do that kind of shit.
Right, because, in the end. Secondly, I worry about this because of the fact that probably a third of Americans, and I wouldn't argue with them, believe that this was staged, right? They say, yup. A third, the 34 to 38%, say now it's an absolute attempt on Trump's life. Now, what the third thing, I said 3, I think I should actually do 4 now. The third thing is that because Trump is president, any assassination or any type of thing, you can't you don't know. You just don't know. If he came out and said, I'm almost the point now, if he came and said, I'm Donald Trump, I don't know if I believe him. That's how bad, maybe that's the only thing I would believe. And then the last thing is, and this is where it really gets into the psychological puzzle. You know what his first comments were?
So it had to include the ballroom somewhere.
Exactly. This is why, America, we need the ballroom.
How do you get from that point to that point, which should be like in a
Because-
different dimension?
Well, because in his world, as near as I can follow it, it's not my world, so I get a little lost in there. He has 2 or 3 or 4 things on his mind, and that's it. And right now, the ballroom, the arch, his memorial garden, the 250 Memorial Garden. They're the things, and they're the things. They're on his mind, and so everything relates to that. Now, if he were right, does that mean that the president of the United States will have to go to that ballroom and live there because he's not safe, or
Right.
she's not? Hopefully, someday she's not safe. And the best comment I read today was, can we just skip to the part where Trump shoots himself in the basement?
Right. But
I mean, that's
the
hard.
very fact that the ballroom is attached to the White House means that the guy wants to leave a legacy. So even if he has to leave, something
Can
of
you-
him is going to be right there
And here's what's
forever.
if there's anybody out there who feels sad for the pathetic thing in human skin that is Donald Trump, this might be it. He is going to have a legacy. He's going to have a legacy like no other president in the history of America has. It's going to be right now it's a legacy of horror. But if he continues, it'll be even worse than that. So his frustrated, warped, demented, whatever word you want to use, diabolical drive to do this one thing, and you're absolutely right. It's all about legacy for him. It's not even legacy. I don't think he wants to be noticed now.
Right.
No, he wants to be.
It's power. It's an extension of
But
power.
and he wants it right now. You know, like some people would say, "I'm building my legacy." No, he wants it right now. So we have another assassination attempt, the 4th one, and all 4 of them very different. Okay. We know certain things. We know that shots were fired, right? Do you know there were shots fired, a week ago? Did you know that? In the vicinity of the White House? Yep, there were. Now, here's where else it gets scary. Do you know how many kids visit the outside of the White House this time of year?
I don't know.
It's
I'm
in
not
the-
busy.
It's in the thousands, okay? Not the tens of thousands. This is field trip time, right? Field trip time is late April, May, and the first week of June. And they come by the hundreds. Are they safe? I mean, you have to ask yourself. Now, people have asked me, and I'm not a hero. I'm not brave. I'm not any of that stuff. I'm really not. But my philosophy of life is this. Every moment you wake up, there's a potential that in the next moment you will be gone. Right?
Well said. Yes.
Yes.
And one day
So-
you'll be right, and you'll be right about everybody.
Yeah. No, right. So it all depends on how you live your life. Now, there's certain things I'm not going to do. Remember what was the name, the Walpoles or whatever, the guys who used to walk across the high wires back, the family.
The
Remember that?
Wallendas.
Wallendas, that was it. I'm not going to be a Wallenda, okay? That to me is silly. I'm not going to be evil.
Yeah,
Knievel.
that was nuts. That is a high risk. I didn't even like watching it. It was so frightening.
No, I agree, and I'm not. My wife Judy is a wonderful person, but she's not real fond of heights. Me,
Neither am I.
doesn't bother. I don't.
Well,
it doesn't
you
bother.
wouldn't want to be in the top of a suspension
Well,
bridge.
no. What I'm saying is, I don't want to be up there with 1 foot. You know what I'm saying? Like they have.
Dave,
1
you're
foot,
gonna. I mean, I'll be mean, but I don't care. You're gonna fall if you're using
Oh,
1 foot.
no. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Right.
and they're doing it. Come on, no. But however, to live your life, I think, and again, to live your life in fear is not a way to do it. And secondly, I'm only one person, but I'm one person who's retired, who lives in Washington, D.C., who protested in the 60s and 70s, who covered protests as a reporter. I mean, I have this history that puts me in a good place to be there and do that. That's why, last Sunday I went to the not, it was a different kind of protest, but I went to mess with the God people,
Right.
the crazies. And so, I mean, that's not going to stop me.
There's
but
nothing
I
else
will
you can call it, but that
Yeah.
you showed the pictures.
Yeah.
It's sickening.
So what happens is, it's not. I mean, I cringe a little bit when, either way, you're so brave. No, I'm not. Okay. Or the other side of that is, man, I worry about you. I said, there's a lot more things to worry about. Worry
John
about
Brown was brave. That guy was brave.
No. I mean, if you want to worry about something, worry that I'm going to, relapse and go out and snort 17 lines of meth or something. I mean, that's something you can worry about. But, that thing. But the point is, the mere point is, it's not about me. It's about the White House itself, the capital of, well, that's a wrong choice because we need to go. But I would say the main symbol of America, right? White House. Maybe something else, but I think the White House is not a safe place to visit. Think about that.
I wouldn't visit.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just anything.
I know we had. I was joking. We have.
I wouldn't want to visit that son of a bitch. That's for sure.
Well, I don't mean visit. I mean to stand outside. I mean.
No, I don't even like being near the son of a bitch. Really, I don't.
Well, I see. To me, I go for the other things to hear. The other people. I do want to. I would
read Playboy
love to,
just for the articles. I'm just kidding.
No. I did. Yeah, I used to do that too. The idea is, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, that sometimes this is okay. You know what it's like, Brian? I've been thinking about this. This is like a tsunami coming at us and hitting us, right?
Yes.
And we're standing, and next comes the next wave, which is even bigger. And next comes the next wave, which is
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. So, what do? Well, for one thing, we watch the clock run out.
Well, first of all, you can't give in. You can't just say, "Okay, I'm going to think like them." You can't do that. You can't give up your own personal freedom.
As I've mentioned before, I've spent a year now. It's been almost a year working with AI, and I'm not going to go into. I have my own feelings about it. It's open for debate. Simply to me, the simple version is it's a thing. It's who's using it and how it's used. That's it. That will never change.
Right.
But
because there can be some beautiful things you can do with AI.
Oh, there's great things you can do with it. But Hal and I named my from 2001 Space Odyssey. But we've been working on a project together. 52 simple things you can do to make America better. Every single person can do. They're the types of things we have to look at, because we don't have the guns. We don't have the military.
Right.
We don't have enough support in Congress. We certainly don't have the Supreme Court. And
we don't even have the time. You and I, we don't really have the time.
Well, yeah. Well, see, now I do now. That's what I'm saying. That's one of the reasons that I can do what I do. I mean, I can. I don't have a commitment. Soon you won't have a commitment. But yeah.
1 month, folks. 1 month and 1 day, whatever.
I understand, Brian. I don't know if this is true, but you know how they fly drones over things in here. That there's been occasion a lot in the past couple months of the school just exploding with clapping, and does that have anything to do with anything you know about?
I think, if anything, and this is truly speaking, a lot of the people, and you and I discussed this briefly, but there are a lot of people who are getting close to the age of 55, and they will openly admit they love teaching and this and that. But every single one of them that I know, I don't know a one that says they're going to go on. The only one that I know is the one who's old and he's been working there for a long time, and he does his own thing.
He hasn't worked. Yeah, I mean,
I'm saying the majority of people are when as soon as they hit that 55 number, they're getting out because they don't want the abuse as a teacher. I mean, that's another show in itself.
And supporting just what you're saying, and he was the first, I think, at least in Bridgeton. There was a history teacher there who the kids loved. I worked with him for 5 years in another project. He's a good guy. But he left at 47. Why? Because he had his 25 years in. And that was the first that I ran across. Yeah.
JC? Okay.
And that was the first thing. And now what he's done, he's younger than us by what, almost two.
Yeah, he's
two
a lot
decades.
younger than I am. I mean, Jesus.
Well, yeah, yeah. But he's been retired now for like 8 years, something like 9 years. Anyway, what he's done, and I mean, this is how it forms out. He's now become the poster child for leaving early, right? Because people look at him. He's been very successful.
He's happy with his decision.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to be. I mean, you're happy with your decision now.
I am now,
think
but I know what's going to happen because I think I'll really feel it in September. Like, I'm not getting up to go to work. I'm going to do what I want to do.
I think that is first step.
And that's
But I
that
think
magical thing of, again, this is going to sound absurd to everybody here, but for me, it's like being 3 and 4 again, where that magical time in your life, you didn't have to go to school, because I didn't especially like going to school like a lot of kids. I liked that period where I could go out and play with my friends when I was 3, 4, and 5. That was the greatest time of my life. It was magical.
And like I said, I think that will be the initial feeling.
Does anybody else have that
for
feeling?
most-
Like, I mean, that was the real reason.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid, but it's just.
Look, no,
me, it makes
we all
sense.
have different. I mean, I'll use myself as an example. I knew the month and the year I was going to retire when I became a teacher. I was going at 25 years. I was done. It didn't matter. Nothing was going to change that. But that was my second career. I'd already spent 12 years in journalism, so I was older and able to do that. What I think will happen, Brian, knowing you and knowing the type of person you are, your first days will be, but then suddenly the whole world opens up because there's so much you can do.
Right.
Like,
And I'll still have a paycheck.
Let me-
I mean,
let
I'm
me
not
give
going to be
you one
rich or
example.
like that, but I'll still have a paycheck.
This is a bad example, but here's what happens. All right. So today, Judy was tired. We'd already done our errands, everything. I said, I'm going to go for another walk. Actually, I was going to check out food, you know that. But anyway, so I'm out walking around, and I come back, and I see this young woman stand up. She said, Mr. Dave. And it was my wife's former hairstylist. And they had a bond, like, just an incredible bond. And she had been away in Ethiopia and visiting the world and Peru and all this. And suddenly she's back. Well, I was able to bring her to the house. It's just really cool. My point is not about all of that happening. It's unexpected things happen and you're not encumbered. I don't have to say, oh, I have to go now. I have to go to work, right?
Right. But there is that other side, though. I don't want to get morbid, but when you retire, you were also saying, okay, this is the beginning of the end, but it's the nice part of the end.
And again, I'm not, no question, that is normal.
I
don't
have no
have any
illusions about my mortality.
But I don't have any illusions. I mean, to me, I'm in no more danger now, right now at this moment, than I've ever been in my life. I mean, I just think, yes, in the end, look, okay, we'll do a teaser for our end show. I'll start it. I believe the end is the end. That's all. You're not going to know it. I don't, you might know it, if it takes you 2 minutes to die or 4 minutes to die.
Well, as far as what we can know, the end is the end of what we can know. You can have faith in this or that, but from what we can know, there's no evidence that there's something else after it. There's no, when they do
and
that,
and people can believe that, and it's fine. But what I'm trying to say is, my point is, in my belief system, it's the end. And what I mean by that is, I don't think it's going to be bad. I don't think it's good. It's the end.
it's the end.
So
But it also gives you some motivation to do something, because now you have this time.
well,
say,
I mean,
how
I
am I
think
going to spend it?
that's
Death is a good
and
motivator.
again, well, it is, and you have limited time. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but might as well
And I
tell
agree,
everybody in the
Bill. I
world.
mean, if we get philosophical, I think he's right. I mean, I didn't intend on this to go this place, but I think that because time is not linear, but there is a distance to things, and that, in a way, is the end anyway. What Dave, you were talking about. I mean, and we do know that everything goes from complete. Not the opposite of chaos, from organization to chaos, and that's what's going to happen to us.
I always ask it this way. I'll see somebody another time, and we're just talking about. I have a question for you, sir or ma'am. 120 years before you were born, do you remember that?
No, and it didn't have.
How about, no, I'm not saying it to you, but anyway, or I say, or 120 seconds before you were born. Do you remember that? Or, of course, obviously you don't remember. I mean, some people claim they have birth canal remembrances.
But there is an actual beauty to this, folks. And I told my father this about, I don't know, a few months before he died. I said, Dad, you know I don't believe in God. But I said that the one thing you can say is that the beautiful thing about being dead is you're not aware of time. It's not like the Earth was around for 4.8 billion years or whatever, 4.5, prior to us being here as we are right now. And that's how long, that's deep time. And the universe is 3 times older than that, and yet we're here. So if we're dead, and then there is a repeating universe, then it's as if when we do die, we'll come back almost immediately because we don't notice. If you don't notice the time, it's kind of like what happened with Will Robinson and the Robinson family in Lost in Space. They were just kind of put to sleep for a while, and Dr. Smith screwed up. But other than that, there is a certain thing. Now, whether it does happen, whether it's in a universe that just keeps recreating itself or whatever, we don't know that. But we do know we got here once. So there is a possibility that it technically could be like a rubber band.
I've told you about the incident that moved me away from, and I'm not going to talk about it now, but the incident moved me away from organized religion. And I had a similar interest that really gave me pause for a moment and then gave me, what should I say, contentment. I don't know, a few years ago, I have grandchildren, and I'm thinking about, man, I kind of want to live to see them. And, you do the whole litany. I want to see them graduate high school. I want to see them graduate college. I want to see them, get married. I want to see their job. But then they're going to have children. And I want to see and then they're going to have, and that was one side of it. That no, you'll never lose the earthly things you'd like to keep with you that way, right? And that's, so you don't, but then the other side is, Brian, is just simply this. We wouldn't be here if people didn't.
Right, there's a whole new set of people here, like Woody Allen said. I mean, if you think about it, World War I, there's a whole set of people on the planet, and they are all off the planet, or inside it, or whatever you're going to call it.
And
but we're a new set, and 100 years from now, there's going to be another set.
And we still, think about it. We don't use our resources well. Think about if every person who ever was born prior to us was still alive. That would be a little crowded.
Although you have to know that the majority of the people who have ever lived on the planet are here right now. Because of the expanding
I understand, but everybody.
No, I get it. You can't have everybody here. And if you can, then you better find a different planet. Or you better live virtually.
Now, I'm going to bring it back, and then we're going to close out with this. There's a time for Donald Trump to die. There's a time for Dave Price to die. The difference in my mind is I think, or I hope, that I will still have a lot of good to do, whether I live through the night, another decade, even make 100. I don't, again, that's a whole different story, but you know what? I don't have the same feeling about Donald Trump. The world will be a better place
when he dies.
When Donald Trump dies. Mm-hmm. And that's not a horrible thing to say. I have no problem saying it.
I just don't want these son of a bitches who support him to do the German thing after the war. We didn't know what they were doing. You fucking knew.
They're going to do all that.
And,
Yes, we know.
I want to be on this side now that the Americans are here and the Russians are coming too. You knew damn well what you were doing. Now you're on the losing side, so you're shutting the fuck up.
I always defer to you with your Russian experience because you're one of the most knowledgeable people I know. Well, you are the most knowledgeable person I know personally about Russia. But I did have the chance to visit Eastern Europe this year, and that actually is still a big problem with those who went, and switched and went with the Russians and then came. So yes, all this is history. But what I would hope, and this brings us to the close with the assassination, I want Mr. Trump to die not because someone took his life. I want him to just run the natural course of things.
How about irony? Would you like some irony in his death or no? Or is that overstated these days?
I think there will be irony without it.
You
And
know?
what I mean by that,
He's something
whole
he
life,
does is really stupid that puts him in that situation.
no, I mean, I think that, well, I think that will happen. Maybe he'll get so excited over the UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship. Did you see oh, that's something else today. Did you see they released the picture or the concept, the visual concept of it? If that doesn't make you throw up, I don't know what else can. I mean, it's not the worst thing. It's just, this is, okay, let me stop here. I am appalled that the President of the United States on its 250th birthday is going to be Donald Trump. That to me is appalling. That says not as much bad about America as racism, not as bad as slavery, not as bad as the wiping out of indigenous people, but it's just a damn bad comment that the United States, after 250 years, we've arrived at Donald Trump.
I think the rest of the African Americans know this experience, but this to me has a feel of an African American experience where you just know it's unfair and this is crazy, and you just try to survive it. It is exhausting. What else can you say? It's just I mean, like you said, there've been a lot of terrible periods, and for some people, it's always been bad. But now, a large chunk are feeling it now, and maybe we deserve it, in a certain way.
There's. I mean, I don't disagree with that necessarily.
Maybe it takes this to learn, about people.
There's nobody up there meeting out. Oh, they did this. And this.
Oh, now I get it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. That's pretty shitty what they're doing.
If you really want to put on the rose glasses for a second, right? Rose-colored glasses. We do have an opportunity now. We've seen it as bad as it can be without the elimination of democracy or the elimination of the country or war or something that Trump causes, right? If we do get rid of him and we don't build back better, woe to us.
Yeah, well, if anything, he is going to put China in the very country he has distrust for. He's putting them in first place. And, perhaps it was going to happen anyway, but, I don't know. And I don't want to sound like Mr. Doom, Dave, but, and you've mentioned this before, but I don't know that we can find our way back with this thing. I mean, at some point, we may have to realize that, either get out of the country or,
we're in
something drastic's going to have to happen.
Let's see. Okay, so let's use it. If his first presidency was the first 2 quarters of a football game, right? And now we're in the third quarter, because 2 years would be the third quarter, and then we still have the fourth quarter to go if he survives it. I do know this, Brian. The longer he stays, the more damage he's going to do.
Right, because some of these other people have to decide whether they're going to run, and that's another issue because that can't wait too long. You see what I'm saying? Well, and that may put him in a situation where he wants a third term.
We're extending tonight, ladies and gentlemen, just because we're on a roll. But I have this question for you. Do you have a Democratic candidate right now that you are absolutely certain can beat a Republican candidate?
A Democratic candidate in terms of
as president.
Right now, I don't know of any front. I mean, Gavin Newsom, it would be a front runner, but I don't know with his personality where. We'll try to get. I'll get George back. I'll definitely get George back.
Judy, I agree 100% with that. We tried to get him, but he's too busy now.
George is a busy guy, but he does come on sometimes.
But it hasn't been for a while.
But no, I don't know. I right now, no.
Here's one for you. I'm not trying to challenge. Why don't you come on with us? You're very smart.
Yeah, really.
You're very
I'll send
good.
the link right here next week.
I mean, I'm not trying to say, right. It's not. Well, you come on because certainly. Look, if we're being honest, and we should be, there's not a person on the planet I wouldn't talk to more than Brian. But I end up with Brian every Sunday night. I have Brian, and no.
How many conversations we've had since we've known each other, Dave? It's just been an endless back and forth
again,
conversation.
It's not like kumbaya, we love one another, but we are very, very similar, Brian.
Very similar. The music thing,
in very different ways. You know what I mean? It's sort of like I'm working on.
We taught the same way.
You know, now, it started out as a joke for me. I have a T-shirt that captures that joke. I went to Villanova. So did the Pope. Just saying.
What do you think, Dave?
You know what, Mr. Anthony? You've been a loyal, not follower of this show. I don't care about that. You've been very loyal in your opposition to Donald Trump, and that's a good thing. Hell, I'll lead. I'll go out and find.
Let me be the IT guy. Okay.
No, I have nothing
Thank
to do
you,
with that.
Anthony. I wish I could.
I'm gonna run the campaign for the opposite side, and I don't care if it is the Republican side because I would do anything to keep Brian out of the White House. No.
You have to have backing, and I couldn't even win a county seat. That's the
Well,
thing.
When I say one of the things that concerns me is the fact of this. Many people that I've known chose not to run, who I think would have been good for it because they don't want to go through. And this was years ago. Now, would you really? I mean, I think I'll tell this story at the end. I'm talking all night, but there was a point. You know this one, Brian. But anyway, there was a point when I was sitting home one night, still in the Bridgeton area, and the Democratic committee called me and wanted me to run for freeholder. First of all, they couldn't get me. I mean, literally, I was the 758th choice or something like that, right? And I said, no. I said, if you know anything about me, I'm opposition. I don't want to be in that. I've never wanted to be in that. I want to be on the outside, helping the people on the inside see the errors that they're making. I mean, I don't want to. That's just not me. I'm not an insider. And Judy comes up, and she just heard the part of it where they offered me. She said in her inimitable way, if you even effing think about that, they're not dragging up all the dirt on you while I'm married to you. So I kind of said, okay. And I'm laughing.
Yeah, dirt's a problem because everybody's got some kind of shit going on. And the question is, could they find it? That kind of thing.
And they will. I mean, basically, well, again, if anybody out
there. It might take a while, but they'll figure it out.
If anybody out there
especially
really
with AI.
wants to understand how politics works, one of the great novels in American history and American literature is by Robert Penn Warren called All the King's Men. And the famous quote in that is he has this young idealistic guy who's working for him, and he tells him, go get the dirt, right? And this guy, he said, I don't know, there's not. He said, man is born in the stink of the deity and dies in the smell of the shroud. There's always dirt. And there you are. You know what I mean? So, even me, I mean, they might reveal that wonderful relationship I had with Stormy Daniels. That's okay. They can do that. Bye, Brian.
All right,
Goodbye,
Dave.
everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a nice night, and we're getting closer. This show is going to change a bit for the better, hopefully. If we're all around, we'll get there in July.
The other thing is a voice. Don't put me on, but just a voice. And I said, don't put me on, so he puts me on. The idea of it is when we do change, it's not going to be major format changes, but we assume we're doing it for the best. If you don't think it is, please let us know. I mean, don't make us Donald Trumps where, we're not. I want to know. One of Donald's problems is he doesn't want to know when he's wrong, and look where it led us. This show is not the presidency of the United States, but it's the same thing. If you don't hear criticisms, you assume that you're doing okay. And that way it's good. So, and I know that, you won't want to say all you want to say about Brian, but I know those things. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dave, have a wonderful night, and have a wonderful night to everybody out there. And
enjoy your last Memorial Day off while working.
Right. Okay, folks, we do appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time, right? And subscribe, please.